Say something. Hello, everybody. Hold on a second. Working on some technical difficulties. I can't hear fucking Mystic for shit. Something like that. Wait, I think I got him. Say something.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we've got him. Fuck yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can they hear me now?
Yeah, I'm assuming they can. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Malice Experience. I'm, of course, Mr. Malice, and over here...
Salon. Or Mystic, because everybody else...
My left, your right is... Yeah. Mystic Salon. Get your hair done. Mystically.
Get your hair did.
So, ooh. Ears are ringing. Who's talking about me?
That was... Never mind. Never mind.
So...
Just call me slow-mo today, because that's how today feels. I am slow-mo. Slow Mystic.
Yeah.
Mystic slow.
Mystic slow. All right, so... Today, our last-minute topic, as always, is going to be talking about familiars and how to identify one. That's going to be the first thing.
Not like it's not going to morph into something else anyway.
Right, exactly. But before we do that, Mystic is going to bring us the tarot deck of the week with the tarot reading of the week.
Woohoo!
So, he's one shade away from Felon Orange.
I know. I'm wearing my Peach Bucky shirt. I hope I'm not advertising for Bucky's or anything, but beaver nuggets are the bomb.
Beaver nuggets.
Beaver nuggets, they're so good. Let's not talk about vanilla flavoring either in beavers. So
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, I like it. I'm eating it. Not beaver. Just if anybody was wondering.
Yeah, he's just eating their nut juice.
Nut juice. The nuggets. So I have like 5 decks that I really want to do. So I'm going to do out of the 5, the one that I probably feel the easiest to read. And it's called the Order of Oppositions. Only one other deck that's very similar to this one that I showed previously that has a very similar style of oppositions. But what I like about it is it gives 2 completely opposing, what do you call them, perspectives, and helps you try to find the middle ground. So the Tarot Oppositions is by Pierluca Zizi and Michel de Aloisio. I have no clue if that's how you're supposed to say it.
But it sounded fancy.
Yeah, and I say this a lot. It's not my normal style necessarily, but it's got some very recognizable, what do you call it?
Artwork?
Artwork, yeah.
Imagery, yeah.
Tarot of Oppositions. Reversible deck, standard card deck. Actually, the card stock itself is pretty nice. It's actually nicer than most of the more expensive decks that I have. Comes with its own little book, yada yada. Don't read it. Introduction's pretty good actually, though. Short, but anyway. So it's a standard 78 card deck. Major, minor arcana, yada yada. But what I like about it, and you'll see in like the Fool, for example. And one thing that's interesting. That light is so annoying.
Very shiny.
So you have, they're very shiny. Yeah, definitely, they're glossy. I'm surprised that they're not waterproof. But you have the opposition. So you have the Fool. Well, let me show this Fool. My dog just yelled at me. What? The big one. So if you look at the top, you're going to see more representation of a similar artwork that you would see in a traditional tarot deck for the Fool. You've got the Fool starting off in his journey, the white dove representing potential guidance, the bag of the tools that you need, and you're stepping out with just what's on your back. But you flip over the Fool, and you see a different opposing force where running foolhardy head first, no care, with a sly fox leading him astray. Right? Now, a normal Fool in your tarot deck is going to give you that same kind of imagery and thought guidance, but seeing the images together is nice. And one thing that I like about this, and I read it in the introduction, the intention is not to read these as reversals. Very interesting point, because the other deck that I have that has this style of reversibility does. And you read the opposing side as a reversal. And this card, the purpose, according to the creator, um, is to see both of the sides at the same time and see what needs to be drawn in to make whatever the situation is more balanced. So it's literally about balancing the opposing forces versus reading a reversal, which would be an opposing meaning. So pretty
Mhm.
cool when it comes to that. Um, I'm going to show this one too, because this, if you have a traditional tarot deck or a like Morgan Greer, or even Rider Waite, you're going to recognize that top one, um, representing the magician. You know, you have all of the symbols, all the elements, everything that you need. It's a manifestation. On the opposing side, you still have all the same things of a manifestation, but are you using it appropriately? So this would come into place in not dark and light magic, as we hate to call it anyway, but as determining that the balance needs to be kept in the magic that you're doing. So it's a different perspective. I like it. I do, like I always, want to show the devil. The chariot is pretty badass, though. Go ahead and hit that one up there. Standard chariot, recognizable as a chariot card, and then your opposition to that, leading into battle without all the stuff you need, kind of thing. Oop, I just got these all out of order. Upside down. Hermit. Yeah, so you've got your hermit, generally representing something, like self-searching, soul-searching. Don't listen to others for the moment. Go inside and do your own work. Flip it over. The light's not lit. To me, that's going to tell me that you're searching inside for the wrong thing. You don't have what you need. You're being foolhardy and fake. So interesting way to look at the hermit. Where's the devil? That's the one I wanted to see, because it's a pretty cool devil. Death actually is next. I'm going to show that one first because it came up. Then you got your reversal there. Blah blah blah. Um, there's the devil. This one's quite interesting.
Oh, that is interesting.
I like the idea of having what most people would perceive as an angel on the actual devil card.
Right.
This would be considered right side up, even though I'm holding it upside down. That's your traditional meaning. So it's showing your opposing forces and how to bring them together. Great
Mm.
way to look at it. Pip cards, I'm not going to go. Excuse me, I'm not going to go through. They are full imagery. There's none of these pip cards have the standard. Like Three of Spears has three spears specifically. They're all full artwork on each card, which is also something that I really like. That you sometimes don't find in some tarot decks. Easy to shuffle. I want to shuffle them a few times.
Is it thick cardstock?
They're thicker than your normal. Yeah. Um,
Oh yeah, that is pretty thick. God damn.
yeah. I wish I don't, like, obviously don't have anything to measure them with. I don't have a calibrated whatchamahoosit. Um uh whatchamahoosit. Um so yeah, there's that. But yeah, these are really thick cards. They're very well made. The imagery is very uh bright. It's very, very good card stock. I would say it would be in the top 5% of the best card stock I have, especially the fact that they are a standard size deck. You sometimes you have those really big cards that are really thick, but they're freaking huge and they're hard to shuffle and they're hard to do anything
Yep.
with. So I don't really count those. And while I'm shuffling, has anybody else ever heard um the phrase for the sauce for steak that nobody can say properly, but I actually can say properly now after lots of practice, called "What's this here sauce?"
What's
My
the
mom
sear?
called me the other day and she said, "Hey, um, what is that stuff that you get? I call it what's this here sauce? It's a Worcestershire sauce.
Mm-hmm.
What's this here sauce?" but you say it really fast. It's funny. I hate all y'all. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
No,
No.
screw you.
uh, yeah,
I
I
have
have
to
no idea.
shuffle them a little bit more than normal. Um,
Doesn't look like you're
yes.
shuffling.
I'm sorry. I'm shuffling. Every day I'm shuffling. 'Cause I've never used this deck before, so I want to make sure. Oh, we got a jumper already. Okay. Let's talk about what's going on this week. Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups has been in a reading previously done within the last couple of weeks. What else we get? Judgment and the Sun. Oh, well, this is going to be a good week, y'all. Got caught on my cord. Let's look at these three. Let's look at the Queen of Cups. We're going to look at both sides of the Queen of Cups, and we're going to think about that opposition, right? Oop. Oh, God damn. Hush. Oh, God. Sorry. Hold on. Gotta run to the door. Nobody's here. Maybe it's my bartender. I don't know. So your Queen of Cups, you've got a couple of different versions of your Queen of Cups here that you can see from the oppositions. You know, this would be the standard traditional Queen of Cups, and this would be the opposition of Queen of Cups. Um, excuse me. Remember, when we're reading this card, what we're doing is not looking at it as a reversals. Whichever side came up is the side you read. It is you're looking at both the the full one end of the spectrum to the full other end of the spectrum, right? And so when you think about the Queen of Cups is your um how do you say the full encompassing embodiment of the emotional person or the emotional theme or the emotional thing that's going on. The exact far end of that would be overindulgence, drama, gossip, things like that. So how do you bring over the next week yourself, excuse me, into a better balance when it comes to emotions? And this is what it's going to take to keep this week good. You know, we do have a holiday coming up for the well, Yule actually technically is usually the 20th, 21st ish, but regardless, lots of things going on whether you're a part of it or not. Things get crazy. Lots of stuff going on all over the place. You have to watch how you're reacting to things, and when you hit your limit, you need to be able to step away. I have hit my people limit recently being out. So when I am home this week, I am not inviting extra people over. We took the weekend off of having friends over. I recognize that my bucket of emotion is run dry, so I don't have much to give to other people. That is the same thing that the Queen of Cups is telling you. When you're going out and doing stuff, know your limits. When you're getting too much going on, too much anxiety, step away, take a moment, bring it back. You'll be fine. The next card is the Sun. You've got, sorry, I keep going to the wrong screen. So, good grief. So, on the top end of the Sun, you've got, well, Sun's got a happy face, so he must be happy, right? But you've got free moving, you've got sunflowers, you've got growth, you've got greenery. On the opposing side, too much sunlight can do what? Dried out, sunburn, drought, death, and kill. So, balancing the energy of the week is a huge part of making sure that the sun is shining the way that you want it to. So, when you are going out and doing things over the next week, pay attention to all of the things going on around you. Like we said, it's already going to be busy and you're going to have to really balance your emotional self, know when to say stop. But you also need to look at how much you're putting out to other people and that you're not trying to overshadow or overtake something or one up somebody. So the sun is really about a positive outcome, and I think that's a really great place for the sun to be because it's saying the week is going to go well. But you want to make sure that you don't put so much sunlight out or yourself stay in the theoretical sun for so long that you become burnt. So again, we're still talking about balance. Our final card is Judgment. This is a gorgeous card. I missed it earlier. I keep holding it up the wrong side. So you have the trumpeter of, the rapture of judgment. Then you have an opposing judgment. Easy, right? What are the two extremes of judgment? To me, whenever the judgment card comes up, it's talking about things that are coming due, kind of like justice, but with a little bit of a different piece of it. It's actually being objectively judged, not subjectively. So you're paying the price that needs to be paid, regardless of what you think it is or what the value of it is. The opposite end of that is judging somebody for no reason, or taking judgment for something that you don't deserve, or being judgmental. I'm a relatively judgmental person sometimes. People get on my nerves. So when we're talking about this next week, we got to make sure that we're having a sunny week. It's going to be a good week next week. The energy is going to be good, but it's going to be super crazy all over the place. When you, well, I'm trying to think of a good example. When you go out of what this three card draw is, it's basically um, going out into whatever you do normally during a week, spending a lot of energy doing it, getting yourself very anxious, too many people, too much going on, and then totally going overboard, putting out negative energy to others or to the people around you because you're so stressed out and you didn't manage or say stop when you needed to stop. So it's really from a stop it. Sorry, my dog is eating a toothbrush. Where did you get that from? Good God. Sorry. Where was I? Uh, the summary for the week. We have a good week coming ahead. Don't go crazy. Don't get anxious. Don't call your dog a dick. Um, Balance it out. Know when to stop. Don't let your cat eat your altar. What other examples can we give? You know,
That is the third time she's almost completely wiped out my altar.
look, I've done a lot of direct personal reads this last couple of weeks. Actually, the last week or so, and they're all following the same theme. And it's not a theme of balance, but it's a theme of managing yourself properly. So if you go
Right.
out and somebody's pissing you off, don't react because it's just going to make you mad and it's going to make everything suck. Just be like, you know what? Screw you. Move on. That is the theory or the summary for the week would be to
All
manage your
right.
damn self.
Go. There you go. And
Yes, let family comments roll off your back. No doubt, no question. Don't get
so
mad
no,
at the cat for being a cat.
no, it's like it's not the cat's not eating my altar, so she's just a kitten, and she can't exactly jump up onto the altar table yet. So when she goes up and she tries to jump on it, she starts dangling off of the damn thing, and then I start seeing shit start to move. Um, and yeah,
So that sucks because my cat has broken a lot of things, and I'm going to address the elephant in the room, Malice. The toilet paper behind me. Oh, it's on the other side.
yeah, there it is.
My dog brought it to me as a gift, as you can tell, and I haven't taken it back to where it goes yet. But yes, that is where that came from. Just in case anybody wonders, I am not using the facilities at my desk. But she literally just walks over to me carrying the whole freaking roll of toilet paper, like literally out of the bag in the closet.
Oh, there you
Talking
go.
about you. Funny. Hmm, Excuse me.
Cute, cute cat. I can tell she can be irritating.
It's not cute, Paranormal Witch. It might sound cute, but it's not cute. It's going to take a lot more than toilet paper for that, Jurian. Um, Familiars.
Yes, familiars, because animals. So
Yes.
Mystic actually made a really good point prior to the start of the stream that your pets are not necessarily familiars. Like, how
No,
about you?
I would be absolutely screwed if VG was a familiar. Talk about crazy energy. Um, so I wanted to I think it's a great topic. Probably not going to be a whole lot you can say much about it, but you know, familiars, people really want their animals, their pets to be familiars. But remember, pets are companions for the most part. I think I might have had what I would call a magical animal at some point, an animal that was drawn to me when we did magic and was present and had a really calming energy around magic, right? So maybe a magical pet. But all of my animals are pets. The reason I don't really try to confuse them with familiars is because familiars ultimately have a different purpose. Like familiars are part of your magic, and I'm sure we'll probably talk a little bit about origins and kind of where familiars came from. Like the rat that was sent by Satan to assist you in your magic and suckles on your third nipple that you're supposed to have if you're a witch, kind of thing. That's a thing. Google it. Promise. There's some pretty neat pictures too. Um, yeah. So I have no third nipple, thankfully. So maybe I don't get a familiar because I can't suckle it, right? So, but the end all be all of it is, to me, calling an animal that's a pet of yours a familiar is a little bit of a disservice to the actual process of the magic and the things that you're doing overall. Now, I think many pets maybe could develop into that or be part of that or part of the whole bigger picture. But when it comes to actually being a familiar, I have never had one. I've, oh my God, it's just a car that drove by. Jesus. They're waiting for their bartender to come home. I mean, Rook. But I do love my animals. I mean, that's not a thing. And some of them are very interested in when we do ritual or when we're doing something and you know, they play a part in it. They're companions to the things that we're doing. They lower stress. Sometimes they raise stress. Pets do a lot of things. Familiars are actual uh and this is probably a little gatekeepy to even go down that road because who really gets to define what a familiar is, but I mean there is a definition for it. You can't go in and say toilet means something else. It's still a toilet. Um so familiars, generally speaking, are animals that are used in, I hate the term used too, but they are literally part of the ritual and of the magic that you're doing, and that is not a sacrificial comment in case anybody wants to go down that road. um But yeah, that's the intro to familiars for me.
I mean,
Keep stroking the kitty. It's interesting that you have that cute little thing there. I have a 17-year-old cat, domestic short hair that I've had since before I even met Brad. Rook, Brad, don't care, same thing. Um, and one of the girls he works with, her mother is going into, I think, either a nursing home or a place where she can't have a cat. So we're going to be getting that cat, and it's exciting.
yeah, I think that I want to kind of latch onto a statement that get the microphone closer to me. So I kind of want to latch onto a statement that you just made. So most of the time, so a familiar.
Latch on like a nipple.
Um, don't kill yourself now.
I know. I
Um,
switched to a menthol vape and it's killing me. Good
that
though.
was yeah. So yeah. Basically, I think familiars kind of show up like most of the time when you are really trying to raise kind of like your magical energy, whether you're working on a spell, or you're doing a ritual, or something like that. A familiar will kind of like present itself in one of those moments. Familiars, in my experience, are not as they make them out to be in Hollywood, where it's like an animal companion that assists you through the magic. And no, very
Okay.
rarely will a familiar be a companion. Um, Familiar is there, yeah, like that, like rat dog, rat dog.
I'm
Um,
a deer-head chihuahua
so,
with a
um,
cardiac issue.
there you go. But the
You see the kitty on the screen. Oops.
so yeah, Gato here is just kind of lounging on my arm. Um, um, but familiars will generally kind of show up when you kind of work in magic and you have those energies raised. They are drawn to that magic, and a familiar will be drawn to your energy signature, like the energy you are giving out. Um, and they will, for the most part, in my experience, what they do is they're there to stabilize the energy flow that you are building with your magic. But yeah, you definitely shouldn't be confusing um, your house pets with being your familiars. You know.
Definitely. I think that's kind of what I call more of a magical pet, just because the term familiar feels so Hollywood. It feels Sabrina the Teenage Witch. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And there's such a connotation with it, so it can be difficult. But I don't think I've ever had what many people would call a familiar. What do you have now? Definitely not a familiar.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I mean, and I'll be honest. Like any familiar that I've you know briefly worked with, one, generally speaking, for me at least, they're not lifelong partners. They're not. They don't stick around for your entire life. They stick around for whatever they need to stick around for, and they're gone. And a lot of the time, you're not physical. You're not. You have a sense of them being there. You might even see, a glimpse of one. But generally speaking, in my opinion, they very rarely are physical. You know, um, so and like I mean, I always kind of got irritated with the idea of people like will adopt a cat or buy specifically a cat or buy a cat. And like when you ask them, like some of them, if you ask them, like, well, why'd you buy the cat? Well, or why'd you adopt the cat? Well, I needed a familiar. Like, are you
That's
really?
not how this works.
Yeah,
That's not how any of this
yeah,
works.
that's not how it works. You don't go to the store and pick it out. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it just it doesn't really frustrate me, but it just makes me wonder what is the purpose that somebody is seeking an animal for. I do feel like familiar would have to come to me. I wouldn't be able to go pick it out in whatever manner, shape, or form that it does come. But a good point Ball is bringing up about spirit animal. You have power animal, spirit animal, totem animals. They all have a different purpose. But to me, like the magical pet that I've referenced is an actual animal, but different than a familiar. Familiar to me is more of a concept, I guess you could say. Um, and that's actually not accurate either. Remember, mystic, slow mystic, slow mo. Um, it's important to understand your own magic when you do whatever it is you're working on. And like I said, I wouldn't know what it would be like to have a true familiar, whatever the definition of that would be for me, come into my life. I'd be interested to hear about other people's experiences of how, you know, a familiar came in or went out and what that felt like, how you knew, that kind of stuff. That would be interesting to hear.
yeah. And as far as like spirit animals are concerned, that's a completely different thing, though. Like
Hmm.
the spirit animals don't cross over in the realm of familiars. Um, you know, very rarely speaking are familiars actually physical. Like if you think you've got a physical one, then cool. But very rarely are they physical, and they're not companions. They don't stick around. You know, like they're not supposed to. They stick around for what they're needed to stick around for, and then they're gone. You know, um, so like this wet noodle in my arm, because like that's how she's laying, like her head's like hanging off my bit. Um,
He's cute.
you know, um, no, familiars aren't necessarily physical. That's the thing. That's the thing, Ball. Like they can be, but they're generally not. And that's a misconception given by Hollywood. Okay, Hollywood is the 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 culprit in making people think that, the all black kitten that you found, scrummaging through the trash, is your familiar. That's fine. Well, that's the thing, though. So, and here's the thing. So that's why I'm not speaking in absolutes, and I don't think anybody, especially when it comes to magic, I don't think anyone should ever really speak in absolutes, because at the end of the day, when it comes to magic, there are no absolutes. Like if you're speaking in absolutes when it comes to magic, saying this is the only way you can do this, or this is the only way that this is going to work, you've probably not been working in magic that long. Because the longer you work in it, the more you realize it's all pretty much up in the air. Like that's just kind of how it is. Can they be physical? Yes, of course it can. In my experience, most of the time they're not. And I think
and I can't speak from a personal experience, so I
Mhm.
don't know personally. I only know of one or two animals that I would call magical pets. So
So yeah, exactly. There's no absolutes when it comes to magic, and there shouldn't be any absolutes when it comes to magic. There's a lot of ways to learn. Like there's a lot of different experiences that we can go through and things that we can, see and experience while we're on this path. You know, would it be a spirit? No, probably not. Probably not, because spirit animals generally um, have an extended stay, right? If not like a lifelong stay. Um, and then it can build off of that. You can have more than one spirit animal, generally speaking. Most people use the term spirit animal in talking about an animal that they identify with, right? Like you'll hear people say like owls and wolves are their spirit animals. Um,
yeah, well, I mean, some of that though too is, and again, this is just my personal experience, and it's something that I ascribe to that came from more of a druidic background. Is the difference between a power animal that you invoke to get the energy to build something specific versus a spirit animal that comes to you at different times of your life or different times of the year versus a totem animal, which is the one that represents you or you identify with. I mean, there's a thousand different ways to do that, but that's kind of the how I see the animal thing.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, just in general, like when it comes to animals, like I don't look at animals as being generally magical. Um,
And
I
I
do.
definitely do.
I mean, they can be. I don't think they all are. Um, I have a big heart for animals. That's the thing. Like so, like if you want to be completely honest, so the cat that I'm holding right now just kind of showed up at the side of my house when I had people because I'm selling the house, and there's people here looking at the house. Cat just kind of strolled on into the side yard, and my son was hanging outside, and he just ran towards the cat, which I told him not to, but he did anyway. But
Of
she
course
seemed
he did.
pretty. Yeah, she seemed pretty docile, or he. I'm not sure if it's a he or she. I'm not sure yet. Um, seemed pretty docile. So, he's like, he asked if he could keep it, and it's just a little kitten. So I was like, sure, why not? Um, Yeah, and we have a very creative name for our cat,
Uh-oh.
Gato, which
Love
is
it.
cat in Spanish. So our cat's name is Cat.
That's hilarious. Uh, I still like Bird BG, Valley Girl of Pequay.
So there's a theory that since animals have become a positive attachment in childhood due to the lack of attachment to caregivers, animals become a safe and part of the self. I have heard that. Creation familiar was gifted by.
That's very interesting, Ball. See, for me, the totem animal was through initiation, and spirit animal is something that kind of comes and goes at different times. I spent most of last year kind of working with the crane, most of this year working with the otter. Um, Kind of one of the heavier druid influences on my life is probably where that comes from. Well, not probably, it is, because that's been something I've studied, for a very long time. But it's very neat to hear different people's experiences with all of these things and how different they are when in the end though, you kind of look at it and it's all very similar,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Well, and the thing is like I'm not here like neither Mystic or myself are here to try to like take away from any experiences any of you may have had. That's definitely not what we're trying to do. Um, you know, Ziggy, I'm not going to shake the cat. Don't worry about it. You might want to shake that dog though. Get its eyes back inside its head.
My name is Tina. I'm the bouncer of the house.
That dog. Every time you hold
Don't
that dog, it
don't
looks
call
like
me
it's
pretty. I'm
scared
handsome.
shitless.
Oh, trust me, she's not shitless. She does not like being held though.
Mm.
And the other one's mad that I picked somebody up other than her. Ma, stop it. Calm down. Good God. This dog is in my lap 24/7 when I'm at home. Just FYI.
There you go.
Um, yes, Scarlet. That's it seems very similar with how I perceive spirit animals. Change pretty quickly, or can change quickly, but they're generally temporary. And ball with the totem animals, it does sound like your thought process for spirit animals is pretty much very similar. And then there's the
Mm-hmm.
whole idea of the power. Oh, don't step on that. That's my keyboard.
Yeah. So
Bali.
I don't know. I'm definitely not of the mindset of, for example, like I don't see this cat in my lap right now as familiar. Very cute cat, yes, but no, not a familiar. Um, and in theory, not for me because I wasn't the one that found it. My son was. So there's that part of it. But
Yeah.
I do think that familiars can be an important addition to magic. I do think that if you can, find a way to work with one or bring one to you or have one sent to you, however you decide to look at it, I do think that, balancing out your magic that way it's a good way to balance out the magic. Not 100% always necessary, but definitely not going to hurt anything, right? It's not going to hurt the process. And like I said, I do believe that most of the time your familiars are going to be, well, not physical. They can, like I said, they can be, but I think that a lot of the time, like they are drawn to the magic that you are creating. And by such, they will present themselves during that time period. And 9 times out of 10, at least, again, in my experience, they are not physical. Like this cat is just completely passed out in my lap.
That's cute.
The thing I'm thankful for is because she's still a kitten, she's not really shedding anything yet. So like I'm wearing black and I'm not full of hair yet, so
That's one of the reasons why I wore peach tonight, because all of our dogs are shedding right now.
So You know, but like I said, like, you know, if you can find a way to work with one, do it. Like I wouldn't tell you not to. If you can hear the train outside, I'm sorry. You
Yep,
know,
I can hear it barely.
yeah. So if it's there, no, it's close. It's close. It's actually like depending on what it's pulling, it shakes the house. That's always fun. Because I think it's a fucking earthquake.
You know, and not that it needs to be said, has nothing to do with familiars, but since we are in the time frame of holidays,
Yep.
um, uh, pets are a lot of work. A lot of work. You don't just get one on a whim.
That's a good question. Are fairies familiars? No. Simply put, no. 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 Fairies are more likely to fuck your shit up than they are to help it. Especially if you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
And one of the I think common misconceptions from my own experience, we actually Rook and I both have a little bit more experience in this area, is um, fairies generally includes a lot more than Tinkerbell. When okay, it doesn't include Tinkerbell at all. Um, but that's not the idea of where fairies are. You know of what they are. You know things that we consider trolls, things giants, Amazonians, sprites. All those things are tech. No, there's no technical answer to that. I don't know why I said technical, but those are fairies. Fairies is
Mm-hmm.
an entire realm um, that is tappable and interactable, um, but has to be done carefully, in my opinion. Very carefully. Ever heard of gremlins? Gremlins are fairies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like so, like yeah. The thing is like so. Don't go into fairy magic thinking that you're working with an entire race of Tinkerbells
Glitter and
because yeah, because that's not what you're getting into. They will fuck your shit up. Because you don't. So put it this way. I think it was funny because we've had this conversation several times, but Rook actually made that mistake. Um,
uh-huh. That's how we got into it.
you know, and I thankfully learned from my mother not to make that mistake. You don't go into fairy magic just saying, "Hey, can you do this for me?" No, you need to build a relationship first, like little by little, right? It's like going into a relationship with like any human being, right? You don't just walk up to somebody and start grabbing their private areas, right? No, you have a couple of conversations first, at least,
hmm
and then you ask permission. Um,
And and interestingly, in our experience with any of the fae, you don't sometimes when you are looking to do something which maybe isn't the right thing to do, and you have that in your mind when you're attempting to work with them, they're going to provide you something, whether you agree to it or not, and you better hold up the other end of the bargain, even though you didn't agree to it, because if not, you're screwed, like really screwed.
but no, they'll work with people. They'll
Yeah, but
work with people. Oh,
they
they
work
won't
with
work
you
with just
to
anyone. Yeah, that's true.
well that and they won't they don't wait for you to ask. Sometimes they uh things are set in set in motion on things that you may not understand. So if you go to invite the Fae in and you aren't prepared with what it is that you truly are looking for or asking for, you can come out with it with some scratches
Mm-hmm. Or more
or
burnt
more.
down house.
Uh huh.
Um, you know, or things of the like. Yeah. So, um, working with the Fae, I think, is a lot kind of like working with demons, right? Like, or what I guess what most people would say demons. I hate using that term, but it's the modern day term that we use, right?
Yeah.
So working with the Fae is very much, very similar. So too many people make the mistakes with magic, especially with magic that deals with working with higher entities than yourself. Like, so outside of the realm of spells, right? Actually doing actual ritual work. Because a spell, I look at spells kind of like prayers, I suppose, right? Where you do certain things to kind of influence the universe itself, right? You might not actually be asking a specific entity to do something, Like you're just kind of throwing energy out there, hoping it reciprocates and it comes back the way you want it to. Um, that's how I would describe a spell. Which for some reason, like when we get into like the left hand path and things like that, we really kind of we kind of stop talking about spells a lot. And I think that spells are an important part of like magical practice. But so that's kind of how I look at spells. So spells are kind of like just throwing the energy out there and come what may, right? So when you get into ritual work, right? Ritual work would be kind of like actually going to church on Sunday, right? Getting a bunch of people together, or you just yourself, and kind of raising that energy up, and getting yourself feeling good, and getting yourself ready for the rest of the week. But a ritual is something you do every day, and the ritual is kind of like where you kind of start building that relationship with the higher entities, right? So you go to church on Sunday. What are you doing? You're trying to build your relationship with God. But yeah, I just went. But when you do ritual work, you're trying to build a relationship with whatever entity it is that you want to work with. And that's the key thing that a lot of people kind of forget when they start to go into ritual work, is they kind of forget you're building a relationship. Don't go into a fucking ritual saying, hey, Satan, give me this. Hey, Lucifer, give me this. And like, I know there's like a bunch of other fucking names that like people like to throw out there because they think it's fucking cool because they read the Goetia, right? Which is like, it's really like, I'm not going to lie to you guys. Like hearing about the Goetia is really starting to fucking irk me, because it seems to be like that staple fucking comment that everybody makes and make them think that they actually know what the fuck they're talking about, without actually ever actually doing anything. They're like, well, I read the Goetia. Yeah, well, I read the dictionary. It's kind of the same thing, because that's what the Goetia is. It's a dictionary of demons. Is there more to it than that? Yeah, duh. But there's also more to a dictionary than just words and definitions. So it's just kind of like one of those things that, like, when you go into this shit, don't go into it just asking for shit. Like, go into it trying to build a relationship. Figure out what's calling to you, what is connecting with you, and then try to work with it in the sense of building a relationship and doing a long-term dedication to that entity. Learn what they have to teach you, because they have things to teach you outside of giving you shit that you want. Like, that's not magic. People have forgotten the point of magic. So can you get things that you want from magic? Yes, you can. Of course you can. Does it take time? Yes. Does it take energy? Duh. Okay. But magic is not designed to be, your fucking shopping mall. That's not what it is. These things have stuff that they want to teach you. Take the time and fucking learn it. Go ahead, Mystic. You've tried to say something 3 times already.
No, 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 no. It's not that. Just I was thinking of the two analogies that somebody has given me in the past when I was just learning, that have stuck with me. And look at you can. This is obviously not a one size fits all situation, but working with the Fae, or demons, or angels, if that's what you choose, or the Welsh pantheon, or the Egyptian pantheon. All of those things, when we say we are working with that person, part of that work is ritual. And in the ritual can be kind of seen like the same thing that a lot of spiders do during a mating dance, a mating ritual. They shake their tail feathers, they pluck the string, the web a little bit, to say, "Oh, is she going to eat me, or are we good?" And it can be seen in a similar fashion. When you're working with a specific entity, you want to learn a little bit about them, but you don't want to take everything that you read as the gospel, because that's somebody else's gospel, not yours. You're going to find out how you work with them when you work with them. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, that's how you work with a deity. I learned of a deity that I worked with a lot in the past, Dionysus. This is in our Roman and Greek areas. And I experienced, and going in knowing nothing, I experienced certain things that led me to grow that relationship. And part of that was ritual. It was finding out, hey, I'm going to call your name here, and I'm going to get in my trance. I'm going to get everything just the way I like it, with ritual, and I'm going to ask for a couple of things, and I'm not asking for like money or stuff. It's like, hey, um I want to grow in this area, and I hear that you can help with that. Obviously, just I'm coming up with shit out of my head on that part, but the idea behind it is the ritual is seen as an ongoing dance or process, that you do certain things to show that you are truly interested and respectful of what it is you're trying to do. The other analogy is, and I don't like this one as much, but it does kind of explain it to some people can grasp it this way. Ritual, working with any of the groups of entities that you work with, can also kind of be seen as um, bending the as above, so below out of balance to a degree, so that there's a little bit of a vacuum created to see what can fill in that space. So I am working with somebody and I'm looking for more of XYZ in my life, love, and I'm working with Aphrodite then, right? And or Persephone even, which is surprising, But anyway, it's a good one to work with. When you do that, you go in and you upset the balance that you have, and this is it goes along, gets into detail with the web of how everything is interconnected, but you pull back a little bit of that energy and provide whatever it is that you have in an overcompensating manner. That is
Mm-hmm.
why we give gifts during ritual, or what do you call them, offerings,
Mm-hmm.
because you're saying, I am going to go +1 on this because I want you to see I'm respectful. Can I get -1 back from you so that I can balance some things out a little bit better for me, or that I
Mm-hmm.
can do something or get the job I'm looking for, or do better for my household, or take care of more animals, or whatever the case is. And I think it's the same with the Fae. It's the same with a lot of things. The difference for a familiar is, and again, this is just how it was explained to me. I haven't experienced the familiar part. Is the familiar is kind of like, imagine yourself as you're an entire magical body, not physical, not human, but magical body, and the familiar is something that you can see and that's visible to you. And I've always learned that it was a physical thing, but it's again different for everybody. But it's like putting on bionic eyes. It becomes another piece of your magical body that allows you to do things you may not have been able to do before.
And I
That
don't.
looks
I
really that looks really
what?
bad because I can't we can't see the cat.
Yeah, I know. She's chilling. I don't want to pick her up. So, um, all right. So I want to address some of the stuff in your chat here. So let's see here. So, Scarlett does kind of make a point here. So this has a lot to do with survival mode. Notice how many people in the occult have past trauma. And I say this so often. So my perspective on the trauma part of it, at least I'll speak for myself because I've been through shit. I'm not going to talk about the shit that I've been through, but I've been through shit. And kind of came out the other side in one piece, kind of. Like physically came out in one piece, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. That's a different story. But again, we're not going to cover that. I can say in retrospect, yes, hindsight is 2020. One of the things that kind of really pulled me to the occult was the idea of control, being able to be in control of my own path. And I think a lot of the time with, extensive trauma and traumatic events, it can leave a person feeling like they have no control over their life. It can leave a person feeling that they have no control over themselves. And what the occult offers is, a way to have control. So you work with the entities that you want to work with. You do the spells that you want to do, and the rituals to the entities that you want to do rituals for, and you ask for the things that you want to ask for. I mean, there is an aspect of it of wanting to be, stable. You want a house, you want food, you want money, things like that, a job, what have you. There is an aspect of it, but I feel that at least for me personally, and everybody's different, it was an idea of having control over a single aspect of my life that prior, I didn't feel like I had control over anything. So it helps to stop the spinning a little bit, and it does. And one of the things that I've always believed in, like I heard very early on as a child, was that knowledge is power. Here's the thing. So is knowledge power? Having knowledge is potential power. It is the execution and usage of the knowledge that you obtain that truly enacts power. If you can, it's the example of saying, well, you can have all the doctorate degrees you want on your wall, but if you're doing absolutely nothing with that information and with those doctorates on your wall, then how much power do you really have? Not much, because you're doing nothing with it.
I definitely have a different perspective on that when we get there.
So I think the execution and usage of the knowledge that you obtain is where the true power lies. And I think that within the occult, once you get past the shiny exterior that Hollywood and the rest of the world likes to slap on it, with book covers with fairies and full green forests and, little huts in the middle of the woods and herb gardens and all of that, fantastical bullshit. Once you get down to it, the true execution of control is taking that opportunity, that connection to you have the things that are much greater than yourself, and learning from them. Like actually asking, teach me your secrets. Teach me the things that you know. Teach me, these ideas that have been lost in time for so long. Give me a branch to extend to others and teach others. This is true. You're right. Not everyone does that. And that's fine. Everyone's different. It would be nice if more people did that, but, it is what it is. Most people don't get past, the shiny exterior. A lot of people like watching rituals on here on YouTube, not to learn how to do a ritual, but because it looks cool. And it's true, it does. It takes strength and resilience, because the thing is, a lot of these entities, just like the Fae, they are going to tear through your shit and, rebuild you. Like working with some of these entities, the only way I know how to describe it would be like going through the military. Now, I have never had the honor of serving. I have great respect for those that have served. But from my understanding and my experience, the only way I know how to compare it, the only thing I could possibly compare it to is, you take somebody that's just like, a normal Joe Schmo, and you throw them in the Marine Corps. What's going to happen? You're going to break them down, right? Make them cry, make them bleed, make them scream. And at the end of it, what comes out on the other side? A stronger individual. A lot of these entities are going to do the same thing. You say you want balance. You say you want to achieve your dreams and your goals. They'll oblige. They will oblige you and help you with that. But the part of that process is creating an entirely new person on the other side of it. You need to be ready for the gifts that you're going to receive. And not a lot of people can handle that, which is why shadow work is so important. Again, yet another thing that a lot of people skip over. People skip over shadow work. They don't want to look at themselves. They don't want to look at what they're doing wrong. They don't want to accept responsibility. That's not everyone, but a lot of people are that way. They're afraid of it. And so I think that we need to start talking more about, I guess, again, I hate using this term, but some people call what it is, what I do, high magic, which is the extended, devotions and dedications to entities. And I know it's just magic, but whatever. Some people call it high magic, so let's define it, right? I think more people need to kind of start getting into that higher magic, in trying to gain knowledge. Because in my experience, when you extend the devotion and time that you work with an entity and you want to, grow yourself, the things that you generally need kind of come to you without you asking. There's a sensation of, okay, this, you need this thing. And if it is something that complements the work that you're trying to do for yourself, it will be given to you without you even asking for it. But a lot of people are just into gimme, 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 and they give nothing in return. You know, it's called observing the ego. Yeah, exactly. You know, so it would be nice to see more people willing to do that, which is why I'm always so excited. Like, you know, I hear, for example, Scarlett, you talking about you setting up a temple in your house and like how you describe it and things like that. Um, you know, or like the temple for you know, Behemoth and stuff like that. When I hear you guys talking about, you know, the things that you do and how you do them, I have such respect for, you know, all of you, because you guys are doing it the right way, at least in my opinion. For me, what I perceive as being the right way, you're doing it the right way. You're doing, you know, you're trying to become significantly more informed and intelligent individuals for through the work that you're doing, and not just asking for shit. You know, which is fine if you need something, but you know, there's a limit on that. You know, there's there's an expiration date on that shit. So, Mystic, you're saying that you do not agree with me on the knowledge is power thing. I'm
No, no,
curious
no.
what.
I agree with you. I have a differing perspective though to include.
Okay,
No,
include it,
I agree
please.
with everything that you have said. Like it's a big part of the conversation of being able to use what you learn and knowledge. But the differing perspective is, we have to also assume or include those that do not have a trauma or did not get into the occult for the same reasons. And it takes a lot of extra work for them sometimes, and they don't recognize that. So these conversations, I think, are what actually helps. Hopefully, somebody that's listening and says, "You know what? I really should spend a little more time on that ritual because maybe I'm not going to go the same route." Um, but I might get more out of it because you're putting more into it. So no,
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree. The knowledge is power thing is the only additional perspective to add for me on that is very careful on who the power is for and over, because
Mm-hmm.
power by definition is a separation in the balance of who has control over something else. And if your knowledge is power for your own betterment and your individual power over your internal thoughts and processes, then knowledge without action is still power. You know, the knowledge that you take in for yourself to better yourself internally still has power to it. And I know that's not, it's not opposite of what you were saying. I just wanted to add that piece in there so when people are looking or hearing, I agree. You have an MD on the wall, what good is it doing somebody else? But you know what? Maybe my personality or my person needs to have that knowledge, and so I want to use that for myself. Maybe it doesn't involve somebody else. So it's just another layer of the way that you do things or the way that you think about things that you're doing for it. You have to consider or having discussions and being with people and getting them to talk about it to help them understand what power are they looking for. Are you trying to control somebody else? Because that's not going to work well for you. Um, Obviously. I mean, but I think that's kind of an understood for most people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and unfortunately, when we get into whatever occult practice we get into or spirituality, it does take learning. But even with shadow work, the thing that to me I notice missing the most from other people is you want to tell other people that it has to be done and that you need to do it, but nobody really takes the extra time with the people that's in their group to help them do it. For example, I wanted to learn a little bit more about shadow work for myself a couple years ago, and somebody said, "Hey, here's some things you can try that were different than things that I've done before." And it was a great conversation. I learned more about myself. And my first thought was, I know how to do shadow work. I've been doing this for 30 years. Um, would I have been approached 10 years ago to do that? I would have probably shot it down and been like, ego, no, I'm not doing it. I already know how to do it. Versus as somebody who has been practicing and who's a little bit older, not saying that age has anything specifically to do with it, but had the wherewithal to say, obviously, I don't know everything, and you've said this more than once. Nobody knows everything, and everything that you know now is going to be different a year from now because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have different experiences to funnel that information through. And I just, it is disheartening to see so many people taking it so lightly.
Mm-hmm.
but I am glad that they're taking it even lightly, because that means that they're one step closer to
Well,
doing
yeah.
the next step, you know?
So here's the thing for me, and for the life of me, I don't, um, you know, I don't want to sound gatekeepy, but we're at this junction in the occult where we say things like that, where we're glad that people are just taking it. We're glad that people are just running with it. They're just doing it because why do we say that? Because our numbers have dwindled so fucking much through the Inquisitions, the witch trials, all of the shit throughout history. Even though most of the people that died weren't even fucking witches, but that's beside the point.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is we've dwindled so much throughout the last few hundred years, and then we had a resurgence in the 60s with Gerald Gardner, and then
Very
that was
gatekeepy one.
yeah, and that was just politics in disguise. And the problem is that we say those things because we're happy that people are coming in, but at what point do we start to draw the line and say that we really need quality over quantity here? We really need people to start taking this a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, you can't draw a line. Like, there is no line to be drawn, because we can't control what other people do. But what you can do, and what you do, and what we do, is have that touch point to say there is more to it than that, and hopefully people follow. Because you're never gonna. I mean, look
You're
at
right.
Christianity.
You're
You know,
right.
look at there's some good Christians. There's some people that really believe and do the right thing, and welcome in the humble homeless person, and do all the things that a Christian is supposedly supposed to do. But there's also a lot of shitty ones, and there's going to be that same for everything that we look at. So there's really, to me, there's no line to draw. There's just talk and what's the word? Um, Demonstration and discussion, and being open to other people into your practice. There's so many people who, like, oh, I'm solitary. I'm solitary. I only practice alone. I'm solitary. I'm solitary. Like, yeah, we get it. Would really love, though, that some of those people were more willing to share, and I think that's going to be happening. Because if we
I
draw the
mean,
line, we're going to go nuts.
well, that is where kind of like the Order of Baphomet kind of comes in. So for those of you that don't know, kind of founded a I guess you could say like a subsect kind of order called the Order of Baphomet, which for me might as well be called the Order of Balance, right? Because for me, Baphomet just represents it's. I do believe in Baphomet as an actual entity. I do not believe in Baphomet as just like a representation, like many people do. That's me. That's a me thing. But I've been working with Baphomet for a very long time, and the results speak for themselves. But the Order of Baphomet is an idea of trying to get into that higher magic, that extent of like growing your knowledge. Not going into it because you want something. You're not going into this because you particularly want to get something physical, but you're going into this because you want to learn, right? And so I think there's a thing. So the occult can be done any way that you want to do it. And I will never tell anyone that they do it wrong. But if you want to learn from me, you're going to do it the way I do it. And then you can take what I, show you. And then through what I show you, you can add that. You can do it exactly that way, or you can add into it, what the fuck ever, right? Like mix it up however the fuck you want to. But the idea is I would like more people to be interested in going into this and trying to connect with these entities and learn secrets of the times and histories that have passed, so we can be better prepared for things that are coming. And I'm not talking about war, things like that, but there are things coming. And the way people are doing things now, it's not enough. Asking for a house or a car
or to fuck somebody, it's not enough. And we need more people willing to make that deep dive.
Yes. You know what else I think? And this is just rephrasing in a different way. I need to personally be better about getting really upset and irritated about how other people do take this so lightly sometimes, and instead just say, "Hey, I noticed X, Y, and Z. If you're interested in learning about X, Y, and Z, send me a private message," and leaving it at that, as opposed to being like, "How dare you," kind of thing. But on that line of thought, I'll be right back.
Yeah. But I never want to go after somebody and say, well, how dare you do it this way? Because again, I'll reiterate the point. The occult is very individual. It's very much, you know, how you feel, what works right for you. But also understand that, like, if you're going to go into an order and you want to learn from that order and you want to learn from the experiences and the results that other people have had, you're going to learn. They're going to show you the way that they learned it. And that's not gatekeeping. That's not telling you that's the only way to do it. That's just telling you that's how I did it. And Scarlett, you're right. It is primarily a solitary path. It is. It needs to be. But I do think that, to some degree, that there is strength in numbers. Which is why I push so heavily on the idea of trying to unify the occult to some degree. Maybe not, everybody doing the same thing. That would be just fucking ridiculous. But an understanding that no matter how different we do things, we're in the same community. We are in the same community. And we need to understand that. We need to kind of understand that despite our differences, we are still doing the same thing. What's up, Maeve? And it's like humanity. We're all different as human beings, but we're still all human. And that should be enough. Maybe not. I mean, I think if people were taught differently and had access to information that talked about unification, it might not be such a foreign concept to people. But so I think there's a fine line when we talk about individuality, right? Being an individual is a wonderful thing, right? Being different, standing out from the crowd, like that type of shit. Like, all of us do it. Every single person in this chat, in some way stands out from the people around them. I guarantee you. Hi. Guess my cat wants attention.
I can breathe now.
And so I think the thing is if we can understand that we can be individuals but still accept each other for our similarities and what we have, in common with each other. Like, there needs to be a balance. I always talk about balance. There has to be balance in this between being an individual and understanding what brings us together. Seriously? What are you doing?
Seriously.
What are you doing?
There needs to be balance.
You can't eat macaroni and cheese. Come on. I have a small animal on my desk.
Oh, is that what they call it now?
Oh. Hey. No.
No matter what path you are on, when you look at it in the end, we're all looking for the same damn thing.
Exactly. Now you're going to go on the computer. Awesome.
Yeah.
So if the stream just randomly ends, it's probably because the cat stood on the power button. Um, there is a lot to take in on this. There is a lot, and the thing is, it's something that requires a group of people to talk about. I agree, Scarlett. I agree 100%. It has to start somewhere, right? It has to start somewhere, right? We're not talking about gatekeep. Would you stop? Made it to the altar. She figured out from this desk.
There goes Baphomet. So, yes. And I think this is one of those conversations that can go on for God knows how long, because one of the things that we do really well at is finding people that are similar to us and sticking with them versus finding those that are different than us and learning from them. Even, learning from somebody else and somebody else's methods and working with somebody else, a human being, I'm talking about like me and Malice. Um, doesn't mean I have to change my practice to match somebody else, or that something that Malice does I have to take into account. But learning and knowing about it is huge, and I think people sell each other really short on that fact. So it's interesting. I've had a hard time with practice. You don't really have a good name for it, because I pull from so many different things, and I pull what looks right to me. But I think one of the things, next conversations, next podcast topics really needs. I think we can go deeper into it, like really far.
Well, here's the thing. So this is the point that I kind of want to this is what I kind of want to point out. I'm not talking about creating a gatekeepy community that tells people this is the only way how you can do things, but ow, I was in my leg. So I'm talking about the idea of having a centralized area where people can go and learn from people that have practice and have experience. Because we used to have that. If you go back into history and you look through history, we used to have that, people. Okay? I keep using this as an example. Why do you think St. Patrick is a fucking saint and we celebrate St. Patrick's Day? Because he slaughtered his own fucking people for not converting to Christianity or Catholicism. Destroyed endless amounts of literature and history that we documented, that we had, that was there. And now we're just picking at scraps. We need to stop forgetting about how things were. Yes, it is a solitary path, but that doesn't mean that it's always solitary. We did share knowledge. We did share experience. We did want others to grow through us. We wanted that. We strived for that. It was taken from us. And one of the reasons why we stay so solitary is the whole concept of dare to be silent. And why do we dare to be silent? Because we're afraid of another St. Patrick.
There's plenty of them already going around.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, at some point, we have to kind of start to kind of come together a little bit and put this shit down. Put this shit together. And we have to spread it to other people. That's not to say that they have to do things the way that we do them, but at least to have an area, a group, an organization that people can go to regardless of what path they want to follow and say, it's here. There are people willing to teach you, each almost experts in what it is that they do. And literature based on experience. So you can continue to learn and grow. And then those people can add to that. As they begin to grow and diverge off into their own paths, they can take what they learn in their own path and return that back to the collective. So more people can learn, so more people can grow. That is what, for me, occult unification means.
Need a better term. Bad kitty.
Lying pussy.
It's the same, and it to me it's unification. It isn't a bad word, obviously, and it means what we're saying and what you're saying, but God, it just sounds very
Gatekeeping?
German.
Oh, well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not
I
saying
do.
it. It just sounds German, and I'm German, so. But the thing is, um, like I practice obviously solitary, but I also practice with Rook a lot. Actually, most of our practices together. And then we also have our tribe where we practice some things together, but we have our inner circle where we do some things together. Each thing has its own kind of method. The one thing that is important to me is the seasons and the cycles, the turn of the wheel of the year. Those things are important to me, not to everybody. And I don't know how that fits into left hand path, but for me, that's important. Animals, totems, shaman work. I only said that because somebody mentioned it, but what I actually meant to say there was um, anything with the either or the other world or the alternate astral stuff. All those things are really important to me, um, and they always will be. But I have learned so much from being in the tribe group that I'm in that we haven't met because of COVID recently. But I have learned things that are outside of my comfort zone that I would not have done before. I've learned all kinds of things. Now, out of let's say 1,000 of those things, maybe two of them have changed my practice, but they've changed how I think. I see that. That's cute. Um, but it has changed my practice. Like it one or two things, and those things are pretty big. I pay more attention to certain things that I wouldn't have done otherwise. When I do my ritual and work with deities, I go deeper than I used to. I like to get more involved in allowing myself to be open to those things and helping to get other people to that point where they can do the same thing but with their own practice is probably one of the most gratifying things that I have ever felt. And I really hope that people get something out of that from that perspective, because we are all coming into this. The majority of people, I would say, not all, but the majority of people, I think, that come to a podcast like this or a discussion like this probably consider themselves experts in their path, right? Now, that path may be documented somewhere, it may not be. And that's not true of everybody, but you can be an expert in your path and still be a complete beginner in the world. And if you approach what you do with other people as a beginner and not trying to fight it who knows more, we will all get along and we will all learn something. But if we go into it thinking I'm the expert in my path, I don't have anything else to learn, your hubris is through the roof, your ego is through the roof, you're not going to do well. You're not going to make it further than where you are until you make that realization.
And that is why I think the three only tenets that I could think of that made sense to me for the Order of Baphomet was teach when you can teach, learn when you can learn. If neither of those two apply, just be silent. Because when you're silent, you'll be able to actually see those opportunities to teach and learn. And those, for me, are the tenets of the Order of Baphomet. Because I think that those are the three things that people kind of forget about. Like, everybody wants to teach. Everybody wants to teach. My beard is being attacked.
Yes. Do you know, like, you're right. Everybody wants to teach, and some people are not good at it and probably shouldn't, but that doesn't mean they don't have bad information. But the thing with everybody wants to teach, is everybody wants to teach the way that they have learned it and thought it, and they should be able to. The problem is when they require it being the pathway to get to the next level. Like one of the ways that I've kind of created my style of teaching other people what I do is totally a apply it or don't apply it, what I'm telling you, to your practice, but consider it, think through it, process it, and then decide yes or no, or maybe later. Doesn't matter. Nobody's feelings are hurt. But the process of going through that, of learning something new and changing your mind about something, or allowing your mind to be changed, even if it doesn't, is what I think makes us better practitioners for ourselves. Because that's really the goal, right? You can, even if you're trying to help your community, you're trying to help yourself, because helping your community, if that's a goal for you, it's yourself that's going to benefit the positive feelings of doing that. So ultimately, that goal is always, it's always selfish to a degree, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is ridiculous. Watching. So cute.
Still needs a significant amount of attention. I mean, she's just a baby.
It made very good point too. We're never a master, we're always the apprentice seeking knowledge. I completely believe that if you approach your practice as from that manner, you will always learn something more.
I agree. Which is again why the three tenets for the Order of Baphomet are what they are. Like, there's always an opportunity to teach somebody something. There's always an opportunity to learn something from someone. And again, if you can't see either of those opportunities available to you in a moment, be quiet, because see it. Shut the fuck up.
Well, silence is a. It's hard to say something after you say be silent. It's so rude. Silence, we've known for as long as there's been public speaking, that silence is a method of communication, right? I
Mhm.
employ it daily at work to see what somebody's going to say to try to fill in that space. Sometimes you don't have to fill in the space. We have our friend that comes over, that's part of our inner circles. Sometimes she just comes over and doesn't say anything. And we go about cleaning our house, and that unspoken silence is a form of communication that allows us to grow and do stuff. I think that's
Exactly.
important.
Exactly. Well, I think on that note, um, I think we've done a very well-rounded podcast this evening.
Yeah, all about familiars.
Not really.
Never is.
Never is. So, by the way, chat, like, so when you see a title is just kind of like where we're going to start the conversation. Where it goes from there,
Mhm.
who knows?
Nobody knows.
Exactly. And me over here, like, cuddling with the cat. Like, I know it's like, um,
Hilarious.
I do think that the character of a person can be seen how they treat others, and others meaning, animals or
Everything.
everything around them. Like, a lot of people like to talk about, like, well, how they treat service people and things like that. It's like, no, it's everyone.
Mhm.
And though responsibility wise, I do not want this cat. My son wanted this cat, but I love animals. I
Too late.
really, really love animals. And I have such a big heart for animals. It doesn't matter how much I don't want the responsibility of having an animal or having fur dug into my blankets and pillows and clothing. Cat.
Hmm.
It's an innocent creature.
You haven't met my dog. Nothing innocent.
Still innocent.
Yeah, they are. Oh, completely. Um, just on the animal front, I've always been a big animal lover, advocate, rescue when we can. I think I figured out what has put me off today so much. This is the formal 10-year anniversary of the day my first Samoyed, the one that passed away this year, came up on my Facebook. This was the day that I woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning waiting for the doctor to call from the emergency surgery that they had to take out her kidney, her, all of her other stuff that's down there, and a lot of things had a huge infection and lots, and we didn't think she was going to make it. This is literally 5 hours away from that phone call, and that dog was supposed to live less than 2 years, and she made it 10.
There you go.
That's probably why I'm so. Although I feel better now after the beer.
I feel good because of the wine.
I'm about to have another beer.
So that is going to be the show for this evening, ladies, gentlemen, germs, and everyone else. Thank you very, very much for being a part of this Saturday edition of the Malice Experience. Okay, Masters with Fur. Yes.
I like it.
Dara, yes. So thank you very much for being here. Greatly appreciate it. And we will see you all next Saturday. You guys are fucking amazing. See you guys later. Peace the fuck out. I will think of something fun and catchy to say at the end of this show that's not peace the fuck out. But for the time being, it's peace the fuck out. So, peace the fuck out. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.